Hi, Eva. How are you?
I'm great, Terry. How are you? So good to see you again.
Oh, good. I'm wonderful. And I am so happy to have you as my guest on the Choose Courage movement. We've known each other for a while now, and I can't even remember how we met, but it was an instant connection of kind of
Yeah.
similar passions and purpose in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, it was fun. I love connecting with people. And I think we actually connected on a radio show. We're
That's right.
both guests. Yeah. And then we were like, oh my God, we got to keep talking. We just really hit it off.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I love connecting with I like-minded, like-hearted. I like to say like-hearted people. And you're one of those, and you're doing amazing things. I'd like to tell the audience just a little bit about you before we get into some conversation and discussion about courage.
Awesome.
Okay, so Eva Medilek, did I say it correctly?
Yes, you did.
Great. Is a certified high performance coach, an international speaker, number one best-selling author, cultural inclusivity trainer. She has worked with men and women in the areas of personal development, leadership, inclusive intelligence, and mastering habits of success. She specializes in helping busy professionals have more money, time, success, without sacrificing their health or their well-being, relationships in the process. How does that sound? I'm in. I'm all over it. And also, I want to add that she is now considered a dog trainer with her own dog.
Yes, we mastered a trick. It's
Yay.
official. Yes.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. So what's your dog's name?
Lexi.
Lexi. Oh, I'd love to meet Lexi. Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe.
So I love dogs.
Yeah, me too.
So let's get started with the question that I'd like to know a little bit more about in what you do in your life and what you've done in your life. And in this new moment in time, right now, do you see yourself as courageous?
Yes, I do. And here's why. A lot of what I do now and what I speak about and using my voice in the way that I've chosen to use it since the events of 2020, excuse me, takes a lot of courage because, you know, women especially, but most human beings are worried about what other people might think, what other people might say, letting other people down. And we sometimes just adapt how we show up because we're afraid of the feedback or the criticism. And so to do
Ooh,
it anyway, I think takes courage. Yeah.
wow. Eva, that just actually, I got chills on that response.
Mm,
I do think that's one of the most courageous things that you can do in your life is really show up how you want to show up authentically.
yeah.
And sometimes that's not popular. Sometimes people don't understand it. But the most important thing is that you are being true to yourself
Yeah.
and your beliefs and your values.
Yeah. And we live in such a world now, Terry, where there's just so much cancel culture out there.
Mhm.
And when we're afraid of making a mistake, we don't show up as boldly and as powerfully as we can because of that fear. You know, we're not perfect, but the grace and space to mess up and to make mistakes and to try to get it right is not out there. People are just not as generous and gracious with their humanity, if you will,
Mm.
these days. And so for people who are still speaking up and getting it wrong, but more committed to getting it right than to being right, those are the courageous ones out there. And I like to try to consider myself one of them.
You are.
Yeah.
I've seen what you've been doing in the last few years, and I can't believe 2020 has been 2 years ago already.
Mhm.
And it just seems like one thing is just evolving into another thing, and then they're all kind of, coming together. We have so many things that we have had to face, really face.
Mhm.
in the last few years. And it's important that we really look at things for what they really are and be honest with ourselves. And you've been doing that and helping not only yourself, but others to speak their truth, right? I don't know what the words you would say, but and standing up
Yeah.
for what's the right thing.
Yeah,
It's popular.
there's that. And, just helping people to be clear, this has been a really confusing time the
Mm,
last 2 years for a lot of us because, we had never witnessed and are still witnessing some world events that we've only maybe read about, in the history books or learned about, didn't really experience them, firsthand. And so it causes a lot of confusion. You can see, mental health is suffering in a lot of
mm,
people. Addiction has gone up, abuse has gone up. And so, getting just really kind of getting out of the weeds and getting clear on what's important to you, getting clear on what makes you happy, prioritizing that in your life. And I think the real courage, this is part of my CPR that I teach my clients in high performance, it's clarity, priorities. But the R is the responsibility of creating and setting boundaries. you
mm,
know, Having boundaries to protect your energy,
mhm,
to forward your priorities and your values and your goals is really what takes courage,
mhm,
because we don't say no as often as we should. We say yes a lot to please everyone else. And then we end up overcommitted and overwhelmed because of it. And so it takes a lot of courage to be responsible for not only creating and setting the boundaries, but communicating them
mhm.
and really holding them. And that creates safety for us to really be courageous and saying, you know what, I can't do that right now. No, I'll have to say no. And to really put yourself, your values, your goals and priorities first.
Mhm. Isn't that amazing concept that we're not used to doing, or that it's not easy for us
Mhm.
as a population and I think especially women too, a lot of women
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way, because we want to do everything. We want to do it all perfectly. And it's hard for us to say no and take care of ourselves first.
Mhm.
And what would you say? I've had this because we're both do coaching, but I've had this response. What if it looks like I'm being selfish?
Oh my God, I was just going to say that. You're like a mind reader. You know, your success comes down to your ability to prioritize without guilt or regret. Success requires selfishness.
Mm,
And not in the way that I'm not sharing my candy bar with you, selfish.
right, right.
Or leave my chocolate chip cookies alone, guilty.
Me too.
But
Me too.
really, remember there was a commercial in the late 1970s, early 1980s for this perfume called Anjali. And the woman came out in 3 different outfits. I can bring home the bacon, fry
Yes.
it up in a pan, and don't
Yes.
let you forget your man. Well, the tagline was the 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman. And
Wow.
that message to women meant that we had to do everything to please everyone else 24 hours a day.
And look good at it. And look good, right? While we're doing
And
it.
smell good too,
It
because it was
smelled
a
good.
perfume, but at least smell good for 8 hours of it, right?
Right.
According to the perfume. But ideas like that have set us up to believe that in order for us to have it all, that we have to be it all and do it all too. And then we end up burnt out, stressed out, and overwhelmed
Yeah.
until we can, you know, like I say, honestly, we have to take care of ourselves so that we show up as our best selves for ourselves, our clients, our careers, and our families, because most of us are having our families get what's left over of us after we've spent it all everywhere else. If you look at a NASCAR race and you see those drivers racing at really high speeds, and they want to win the race without breaking down, without crashing and burning, and hopefully win, right? And they want to finish. And I remember seeing the lead car stop for a pit stop while they were ahead. And I'm like, why are you stopping now? Nothing's wrong with the car, right? Like, you're going to fall behind and lose. But they know enough to know that taking a pit stop is necessary to continue to race at peak or high performance without breaking down.
What a
Most
great
of us,
example. I love that
yeah,
example. It's very true.
yeah. And if they know how to do it, we don't do it for ourselves. We keep going until we're out of gas, until the tires blow up. And then we're in repair mode and reaction mode. And so, you know, with my high performance coaching, you know, we figure out what are those pit stops or high performance habits that keep us running at peak or high performance, so that we can continue to be our amazing selves without breaking down our health, our well-being, and our relationships in the process. And it takes being selfish.
I couldn't agree more. And you described this so beautifully, and I can tell that you've walked your talk and that you've helped a lot of people, because it really, and it's something, it's really true. But what would be 2 steps that you would give our audience, or even one, to start on this road?
Yes. Okay. So one of my favorite things to do is to take pit stops throughout the day, and strategically. So for example, I specifically have on my calendar all my appointments with a 15-minute buffer. I'm not doing the back to back to back to back, at least 10 to 15 minutes buffer between. And in that buffer, I'll do a pit stop. I'll either do what I call a release meditation to just release the energy. You know, sometimes, you know, especially in the coaching world, we have clients that we pour into, and that leaves us a little bit drained. So how do we pour back into ourselves before getting on the next call, or doing the next task, or helping the kids with their homework, or being with our spouse? So we have these little, what I call transition pit stops. So you can do one to calm down in the moment, or you can do one to re-energize, which is moving, which is drinking water, walking, getting outside, breathing some fresh air. Me, I chase the dog around the coffee table with a toy. And that's like, I'm moving, she's moving. It's a win-win for everybody. But make sure you have those transitional, what I call pit stops between tasks, so that it re-energizes you. It helps you get rid of old energy, re-energize you. And there's specific ones that I teach my clients as well, so that you start the day with as much energy as you begin it.
Eva, I'm going to actually write this down and start doing this for myself, because I go from, 0 to 100 quickly. And I'm the first one to say I'm guilty of this. And I've been trying to work in those, regenerative moments. And that's when it gives you space. And I've noticed when I've done that it gives you space for inspiration and creativity, and you can think clearer. And you're more rested. So I love all of this. I can't wait. We'll make sure that everyone has your information so that they can contact you and work with you. And in the end, we'll discuss what type of clients that you do work with. And before we end this wonderful conversation, which has been so enlightening for me as well, is that I want to ask you another question, our last question, and that is, if time, money, resources, whatever, even your own courage were available to you, is there something that you haven't done yet that you would do if doubt and fear were out of the ballpark?
Yes. I have been struggling with learning how to swim.
Swim, wonderful. Thank you for being so courageous to tell us what that is.
Yeah, I literally go into panic attacks. It's a control issue for me, and I've taken some fear of the water classes in the past, and, water is very powerful.
Yes.
And you have to surrender to it to be able to swim. And that's very difficult for me.
Yes.
And, Yeah, I remember I did get inspired once to have the courage to do that, but it took courage and a Valium for me to get in the water.
Sometimes volume helps with courage. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not in a position to practice enough to get good at it. And that's something I would really love to be able to do, so that on vacations I can do those things. I can jump off the boat into the water. I can snorkel, I can scuba dive, I could see things. And I don't have that beauty available to me because of my fear of the water.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. So as we wrap up, let's just quickly walk through this. So, and with your own knowledge, with my knowledge, and so that we can share it with the audience. And how do you go about doing something that is fearful for you, that you want to be more courageous about? So I'm going to start first. And then
Okay.
I'm going to start with one step that I would suggest. And then I
Mhm.
want you to give me a suggestion. And the audience, if you're listening right now, I want you to be thinking about something that you might do if you felt you had fear and doubt out of the way and more courage. So
Okay.
my first step would be, what is one small thing you could do in the direction of learning how to swim that wouldn't be so fearful, that you would feel some success about if you actually took that action step?
Well, I would definitely go to those classes again, and look for where, I mean, with the pandemic and everything, they weren't available, but they were really super helpful. She deals with adults. I can't remember her
Wonderful.
name. She deals with adults who are afraid of water. So I would really, look for those opportunities to have a coach and somebody
Yeah,
help me with that.
there's a
Yes.
reason. There's a reason for coaches. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so now your turn. That's a wonderful step.
So this is a step for me.
That was the one that I suggested. Now, what would, as a coach, so that was my first step, take a small step,
Hmm.
action item.
Hmm.
Now you're a coach. So what would be a second action item after that one?
That would be to schedule a vacation where I would have the opportunity to practice.
Wonderful.
Yes. Mhm.
Perfect. So the next step would be, let us know, reach out to us maybe before we even post all of this or people are listening to it. I hope that we have an answer to some of these action steps.
Yeah, no, I'm excited because, I kind of need to get back into it just so that I can kind of really fully live the way I like to live. So that's important.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
That gives me inspiration when I see you being courageous. And this conversation has been filled with ways that you can be courageous in your own life and be honest, speak up, tell you the truth, show up, and also have balance, well-being, and
Mhm.
push past your fears and your doubts. There's been so many wonderful little truths that everyone can take from this interview. It's been so enlightening for me.
Oh, thank
Look,
you.
so Eva, tell me where, or tell the audience where they can get a hold of you and what type of clients that would really benefit from working with you.
I really love helping busy professionals get clear on where to focus their time, their effort, and their energy so that they can continue to advance their careers without sacrificing their personal life in the process. You can reach me at evamedilek.com, which is my name. And, there's a free gift that you can actually get on there, and that's energy generating habits for success.
Oh,
You might
perfect.
want
That
you
sounds
might want to
great.
take advantage of that one. That's a free download that I have, and I give you six specific things you can start to implement right away to create more energy in your life. Because, a lot of us talk to people and we ask how they're doing, and it's always good but busy. And
True.
so how can we, create that energy so that we show up on our A game in every area of our lives?
Wonderful. I agree. I couldn't agree more. We all could use more energy in our lives. So everyone take advantage of the free gift and contact Eva if you know that you would like to have a little bit more balance, well-being, energy, and a fulfillment in your life. Thank you, Eva, for showing us your courage today. And we look forward to hearing how you're doing on your action steps. And have a wonderful
Yes.
day. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, Terry, for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.